Okay, it looks like we're all here. Are we recording then, Haley?
Yes, we are.
If that's the case, I would like to call the inaugural meeting of the EMTSC HR and Compensation Committee to order at 4:02 in the afternoon. And I would like to do, as we do at the start of all of our meetings, a land acknowledgement. And so I would like to acknowledge that on behalf of the HR and Compensation Committee, I would like to acknowledge the traditional land which we are virtually gathered today. It is Treaty 6 territory, and we would like to thank the diverse Indigenous peoples whose ancestors' footsteps have marked this territory for centuries, such as the Cree, Dene, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, and Blackfoot peoples. We also acknowledge this is a Métis homeland and home of the largest concentration of Inuit south of the 60th parallel. It is a welcoming place for all peoples who come from around the world to share the Edmonton Metropolitan region as home. It is my pleasure to welcome everybody to our meeting this afternoon. I would turn it over to Josh Cole, our administrative leader, to take it away now.
Thanks very much, Councillor, for calling the meeting to order and getting us going. We would probably just want to highlight, and we'll put that on the screen, what the agenda looks like, and then we can get a motion to approve that agenda, and then we can begin to go through the items we have in front of us. And so
one thing that I should
get
note,
to that.
Yeah, one thing I should note, that this is notice of live stream. So I'd like to remind the committee members that we are now recording this meeting and it is being live streamed on YouTube for the public. The location of our recordings, because due to COVID-19 pandemic, committee members are each in their respective homes or offices for the duration of this recording. And so I would welcome our administrative team for joining us today and the members of the public watching our live stream recording this meeting. So Mr. Cole, I turn it over to you.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Mr. Chair. As you see in the screen in front of you, and hopefully everyone can see it now, there's an agenda for today's committee meeting. And so we would obviously ask for a motion for the approval of that agenda, which includes adoption of the committee in the terms of reference for this committee, adoption of the meeting schedule. There will be some items we'll move into camera on, and then adjournment. And so, Mr. Chair, if you want to have the committee approve that agenda, then we can proceed.
I would so ask for a motion to approve our agenda for today's session.
I'll move it. Gord.
Councillor Walters is moving approval of the agenda. Any discussion, any additions or deletions from the agenda? Okay, seeing none, I would then call the question. All those in favor, raise your hand. Carried unanimously. Thank you. So, Mr.
Great,
Cole,
thank you.
First item of business is the HR compensation terms of reference. I turn it over to you.
Yeah, and thanks very much. And just before I do that, I want to take this opportunity to introduce a couple newish members of our team that are supporting our HR functions and endeavors, and Brittany Bryce and Karen Marner, who have been on board and helping us with many of these key foundational pieces of getting the HR structure in place, are on the call with us, and they'll answer lots of questions that you have, I'm sure, in the course of this meeting and going forward. So Brittany and Karen, I don't know if you want to just give a wave or say hello or just introduce yourselves, but please, we're lucky to have them, and they've certainly been a real asset to us in getting a lot of this work going. And so with that, I'll just touch on the HR and compensation terms of reference. As you know, there's been two committees set up to support the function of the board, recognizing, especially in these early stages, there's critical work to be done that needs to be done, in essence, in between board meetings. And so to that end, this committee was approved by the board. And so to support the work that this committee will do, there is a terms of reference that you all have. And so, like, I don't think I have to explain a lot of this to you. You know what terms of reference is, but it just gives some structure to how things will be organized. Certainly speaks to the role that the committee plays in its relationship to the board. And so while much of the duties, functions, and responsibilities, are still attributed to the board, there is work that will be done at this committee level. And of course, the committee will also set out things like the schedule, which we'll get to next, and other items of that nature. And the first, before we can kind of make this, I guess, committee official, we need the terms of reference approved. They're very basic. I don't think there's anything that would jump out or even have to draw your attention to in terms of the terms. They're included in your board package, as you know, and so kind of pages 4 to 6 that are there. If anyone has any specific questions, I'm happy to answer those. And certainly if there's anything you've caught that you might want to see amended or changed, we're happy to entertain that too.
Had a chance to review them, and I thought they looked pretty straightforward, but I would ask if any of the committee members have any observations, questions, clarification on the terms of reference. Sam?
A couple of minor things just to provide a bit more certainty. I think, and sorry, I don't know if we have it available, but on page 6 of 8 of it, it talks about the notice for the committee chair may call additional meetings. I don't know if Haley's around, I can share that as part of the screen just so we can show that or not. But right now it says where possible the notice should be giving at least 7 days, I think we should have a bit stronger language here. Instead of should, we could say the notice shall be given at least 7 days, just to provide a bit more strength around that one.
Sure. Perfect. I think we've been advised by kind of our legal support that must is now the terminology, so we can make that change. I'm happy to do that.
And then one other minor thing again, as it relates to the paragraph on page 5 talks about the HR advisor of 8 there. Sorry, page 5 of 8. Yeah. It says, basically talking about, recognizing that the committee may not have the required HR related experience. And I'm sure they drafted this paragraph directly thinking about me, but anyway, it says the board may also support the committee by providing access to professional HR. I think in order for us to do this appropriately, I think instead of a may, I think that's a shall or now a must. I think that's an important part of this. So those are only two minor things that I wanted to flag here as part of this conversation. So happy for discussion on that. But I think particularly around that HR expertise, to reinforce the need to have that should be more solidified than a may. So I would certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, and you know what, that may, Councillor, to your point, that may actually more accurately reflect the intention of how things are set up. And so in the case of Brittany and Karen supporting this committee, we would, the expectation is that in this kind of, call it this interim phase or bridge period, that they would be at all of these committee meetings and available to support. And certainly if, say, however many months, years, or whatever from now, that the committee would also be supported by an internal HR function and those expertise. So I think it actually, your suggestion more accurately reflects what actually would be the practice.
Yeah, I don't think this changes what you guys are planning in terms of having, Brittany and Karen as there. I just think let's get it correct in the terms of reference here. So those are only two minor things that was identified.
So are there any other observations for potential change to the draft terms of reference from any of the other committee members? So, Councillor Broadhead?
No, I was going to say not here. Good catch though, Sam. Well done.
Okay, yeah. If that improves it from the standpoint of certainty of the support, then that's fine. How would you suggest we deal with it? We just consider that to be an adjustment to the terms of reference going forward, and then move the motion to adopt the amended terms of reference as presented by administration.
Yeah, I think that's what we can do. And so I know we're kind of just switching screens here for a second. So the motion as it currently reads, so I would suggest that we would say as presented and amended at the March 24th, 2021 committee meeting.
Okay. With that wording, I would be looking for a mover of that.
Make that motion if you want.
Sam?
Good.
Sam,
So I'll move that the committee endorse and recommend the HR and Compensation Committee. Sorry, I just moved my Zoom screen out of the way so I can read it all. Terms of reference as presented and amended at the March 24, 2021 committee meeting to the Edmonton Metropolitan Transit Services Commission Board for approval.
Okay, so I would, any comments or questions, clarification on that motion? If not, I would call the question. All those in favor? Approved unanimously. Okay.
Great.
Next item of business is our committee meeting schedule. Josh?
Yes, thanks for that, Mr. Chair. And just again, kind of getting some of these foundational pieces in order, how we meet, we've dealt with, and now when the committee meets. And so there is a proposed schedule. One of the things I just want to draw attention to, and I think there may be worthwhile discussion that comes with it, is, as you know, at the board, there was a discussion around the timing of and the cadence of October, especially of 2021 meeting dates. And so we expect that there would be a shift of that October date to give breathing room between what is now the amended board meeting schedule that you amended and approved. I guess it was last week. And so that's one thing I want to draw your attention to. And then I guess any other kind of considerations. Again, we've tried to avoid all the kind of, obviously, we don't want these happening in the same time as another committee meeting for this organization, and tried to avoid some of the other, kind of key dates on the regional calendar to make sure that these work. But happy to kind of make other amendments or have any discussion around the kind of the cadence and the timing of meetings.
So the question I guess I have is, it's a draft schedule. It's anticipated that we will have a fair amount of work to work through that process, with appropriate support through our administrative support. In the event that we have nothing that does need to be dealt with in any particular time, would that meeting just be a notice of cancellation to the members, or how would that be handled?
Yeah, there is, we do recognize, well, we don't think that's going to happen in kind of the early stages because there is a lot to work through. And so there might be some shorter meetings here or there, but that there may be instances where a meeting with proper notice could be canceled. The other consideration I would just put out there, we recognize that sometimes summer committee and board meeting dates become a little more problematic with quorum. So recognize that there could be those instances, but we wanted to get kind of a regular cadence and tempo into everyone's schedules. The other point being that there will be work done at this committee that will then feed into the board. And so you might dig in more into detail at this level. And so we're kind of trying to make sure that there's enough time to do the work that might come out of this committee so that it's in a shape and form for the board's consideration.
Okay. Michael, you have a question?
So this is draft. Have these dates been floated through our offices?
No, these were being proposed to the committee first, and then with your feedback, we would go from there.
Okay, well, I'll vote. I'll support this with the caveat that my office holds all the power over my dates. So
We know
that's
who
all.
controls the purse strings then.
Well, or the schedule. at the very least.
If I may, I had one other kind of question for consideration on these dates was when we look at the cadence of the audit and finance committee dates, those are scheduled for the Thursday 2 weeks prior to each board meeting. This is, being proposed as the Wednesday 1 week prior to board meetings. And our question to this group or to this committee was, would it be more preferred to actually hold these HR and compensation committee meetings the Wednesday 2 weeks before each board meeting to provide a little more turnaround time if, say, something needs to move through the committee and then to the board. So that was another option. It's not reflected here, but we wanted your feedback on that.
Sam, have a question?
Just more of a comment to that. I think 1 week. I think 1 week prior is plenty of time. It gives us keeps it fresh. So for me, I like the 1 week, and I appreciate Josh bringing up October, the 13th here, and maybe we adjust that to the 20th to be reflective of the other board piece, the larger one, to be consistent there. And then the final point to note that I don't have an office, so the schedule is good for me. So.
Okay, any other observations or questions? Wes, okay?
Yeah, I was going to say 1 week is fine for me as well.
Yeah, and I think 1 week works for me as well. Typically 2 weeks just is probably a little overkill. So,
Okay,
Michael,
that's
you
helpful.
okay with a week?
Yeah, it's good for me. I think that's plenty of time.
Okay, would somebody like to move the recommendation?
I think we'd like maybe we're going to amend that October date.
Okay.
So again, we will maybe that the motion becomes that the HR and Compensation Committee adopt the committee meeting schedule for 2021 with an amended October meeting date as discussed at the March 24th, 2021 committee meeting.
Okay, I'll accept that change.
I'm not sure I can make that change, but
Well, I'll accept that as a suggested change for a motion. Would somebody like to move that? Wes,
I'd be happy to make that amended motion that the HR and Compensation Committee adopt the committee meeting schedule for 2021 with an amended October date as presented at the March 24th, 2021 committee meeting.
any comments? If not, I would call the question. All those in favor, raise your hand. Approved unanimously.
Excellent.
and now, Mr. Chair, that I believe is the completion of our public agenda items, and we would require a motion to move into camera as kind of appeared on the screen.
I would look for a motion to that effect. Mover, Sam?
Happy to make that motion that the board move in camera in accordance with the provisions as identified on the screen there.
Those in favor? Carried unanimously. So we move in camera. We will take us down and move us into in camera.
Thank you. Yes, please just hang tight for a minute while I pause the recording and move everyone into a breakout room.
And so when we're finished, we will reconvene and then adjourn from that point. Looks like we're all here, Haley, so thank you very much.
So I can move this.
I would look for a motion. Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, that the committee accept, I'll move the committee accept the material and discussion as presented in camera at the March 24th, 2021 HR and Compensation Committee meeting as information.
All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, do we have any other business, Josh Haley?
No, I think you've covered everything and we've completed the business on the agenda. And so I think all that you have to do now is move a motion to adjourn.
Can we just adjourn the meeting, Wes, from your past experience?
I think you just declare the meeting adjourned.
I declare the meeting adjourned, and thank you for your assistant, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it was good. I'll get better. I'll get better.
Well, you
did
did
great.
great, John. It's all good, man.
You're good.
Okay.